it seems like, Mike, the last week or so, there's just been a lot of recruiting chatter, and you've been doing a lot of reporting since you got back from vacation. I feel like every other hour there's a defensive line update, and we'll get to that in a moment. But let's start with a pretty exciting player out of Tennessee, the Lipscomb Academy, cornerback Kaleb Beasley. And Mike, he's a player you've told us about in the past. I guess I always assumed Tennessee's probably going to be in the driver's seat, but Notre Dame's got him coming to South Bend.
Darren, years at this point that we've been talking about Kaleb Beasley on our show. Seriously, I want to say got the offer fall 2021. So I mean, we've been talking about it for a while, and a standout at Notre Dame's Irish Invasion camp last year, and I got to see him a couple months after that at a preseason, regular season game down in the state of Georgia, and just a fantastic player. And I really like Notre Dame early in Beasley's recruitment, 4-star corner. I don't know how he's ranked outside of the top 100 nationally for these websites. I think he's an absolute freak show. I think, honestly, in my opinion, I think he's ranked I think he's like a 5-star type guy. But, the websites don't think that. But I'll just I'll die on that hill. But I like Notre Dame for him. He ends up committing to Tennessee. This would have been October of last year. Notre Dame said, you know what? We're going to keep fighting for you. So every opportunity they get to go to his high school, they do it. All those recruiting periods, coaches on the road, they're always at Beasley's high schools, literally as much as they're allowed to. And then they got him on campus for the April 1st recruiting weekend. And then how about this? Darren Blue and Gold had this scoop. What would this have been on Tuesday, that he's going to officially visit. And we had been hearing about this, that Beasley and Justin Scott, the 5-star defensive tackle from Chicago St. Ignatius, were looking to officially visit for the Ohio State game. And then we were able to break this news. So the Tennessee commit going to officially visit for the Ohio State weekend. So a pretty big deal here, Darren. Notre Dame has 2 really good cornerback commitments. Carson Hobbs from Cincinnati, and then Leonard Moore down in the Austin area. If you land those 2 and you add Kaleb Beasley to the mix, I mean, goodness gracious, with Brian Urlacher's son, so we're looking at a really good defensive back class. And then they're, later we'll talk about another defensive back who Notre Dame's looking pretty good for. Darren, defensive back recruiting is looking pretty good right now. But will they flip Beasley from Tennessee? This visit, I mean, it is in 11 weeks or something. A lot can happen between now and then, so we'll see. But Beasley's also taking an official visit to Oklahoma, so it definitely looks like he's not shutting down his recruitment.
I'm wondering, just as someone that talks to these players and looks at the film, do you ever email or call up the On3 people and say, hey, this guy's rated as a 4-star. I think you need to reevaluate him. He might be better, or a 3-star. Have you ever done that, and does it make a difference?
Yeah, I'll do it more if I've seen the guy in person, right? Because I have access to Huddle just like, our On3 people have access to Huddle. But when you go see him in person, it can be a little bit different. So I will there. But yeah, there are sometimes I pound my fist on the table for certain guys. But I don't like to do it too often, because
Sure.
if I am going to do it, then I want them to be like, oh wow, Mike doesn't do this whole lot, so he must really believe in this player and has seen him. Yeah, Beasley is definitely one of those guys who have actually done that for Derek.
Have you?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you ever come up with your own star list, it could be singer their praises. I mean, that's a pretty good catchphrase.
I think it would be probably a terrible rankings list. I mean,
come on now.
As much as everyone likes to say, oh, like this ranking website, oh, their rankings are awful. I'm telling you guys, if you did it yourself, yours would be probably worse. It's a lot more difficult than it looks.
All you got to do is show your business card with Joe Alt on it. It's all good. So I'll bow down to you. He's Mike Singer, Notre Dame football recruiting insider, Blue and Gold Illustrated, blueandgold.com, of course, tied into the On3 platform. I can't wait to get your thoughts on this, because when I heard this story pop up, I immediately thought this is something that would be really good to talk about in our recruiting update. Notre Dame, any chance they're going to change the official visit policy for committed recruits? And this kind of came up because Brent Venables at Oklahoma now has this allegedly stern policy, although it seemed to not be the case late last year, going after certain safety, but maybe I'm mistaken on that. So what are your thoughts on if Notre Dame might change the way they handle committed players and visiting elsewhere?
Yeah, I can't speak much to Oklahoma, but just for folks who might not really know what this is all about, I'll try to give as brief as a rundown as possible. So, when Marcus Freeman became head coach, they basically implemented the policy, and this is not something that was written in stone or was tattooed on their arms or they replace play like a champion sign with this policy. So let's all take that into consideration. This is something that very easily can be changed, and we might see it. Is if you're a player and you're committed elsewhere, you can't come take an official visit here because Notre Dame's own official or own commitments, they're not going to allow to take official visits. You can't have it both ways, right? You can't
Sure.
tell your own commitments, hey, you can't, if you officially visit elsewhere, we see you as a decommitted player, but then also have, players committed elsewhere come take an official visit to your school. Cause then the guy committed to Notre Dame will be like, but wait, I can't, but they can come here. Like that doesn't sound right. So that's basically Notre Dame's policy. So I'll give an example of last year, Kaleb Smith, who was a receiver, is committed to Texas Tech. Notre Dame was looking like they're going to flip him, but to take that official visit, he had to decommit from Texas Tech, and that's exactly what he did. And then he commits to Notre Dame. Same deal with Kenny Minchie last year. So I think a lot of people hear about this policy and they're like, "Oh, I don't like that because I want to be more aggressive." But I think it's helped Notre Dame flip players elsewhere.
Mm.
And I think Peyton Bowen probably would have decommitted a lot earlier in the process if this policy were in place. So I kind of go both ways on it. This is an article that me and Kyle Kelly did a couple weeks back. Like, do you prefer the policy? I really don't have a strong opinion on it. I'm kind of fine with it either way. Now, will they change it is the question because of Kaleb Beasley taking this official visit, right? He's a Tennessee commit. But here's the thing. This visit is what, 11 weeks, 12 weeks away. So, I mean, he could decommit by then. I mean, he could. There's so many different variables. And again, this is something that media is reporting about. Notre Dame is not, there's no press release about this.
Yeah.
This is not something that is declared by Notre Dame or anything like that. This is something that I'm told, other media outlets are told, and we inform our readers about this. Like, this is why this is going on, or this is the situation. So it's Notre Dame doesn't need to make any decisions on this right now. Yeah, he's going to officially visit in September for the Ohio State game as of late May. I mean, he could cancel the visit next week, and then it's like, why would you have need to make any decisions on your little quote unquote policy for this? So, a long way to say, Darren, and I hate to give you a non-answer, but I don't think that they've really, put their foot in the ground. They being the Notre Dame staff on their whole policy here. I do know that Notre Dame loves Beasley. Notre Dame loves Beasley as much as I do, if not more. And I think that he's the type of player that they might change their policy for. And then for 2025, they might be like, all right, no official visits again. Like, again, this is something that can change at the drop of a hat. It's recruiting. It's not like in a press conference, Marcus Freeman could talk about recruits like that. Like, this is, they can kind of do whatever they want here.
Very interesting. To me, this can be just like coaching your team. You have to coach players differently based on what they can take mentally. You might be rougher on Mike Singer because he can handle it, while that Darren guy's really weak mentally. And you know what? You got to be softer with him. My point is, the elite guys, maybe you have sort of a different policy with them than the rest of the group. May not sound fair, but you know what? There's nothing fair in recruiting right now. You have to do what's best, because why would you tell Beasley now, you can come visit us, but you have to decommit? To me, get him on the books and you worry about that down the line.
I wouldn't. You can't do what you just said. Beasley can't, but no one else can. Like, you can't do that. Maybe for the 2025 cycle, you can. If you want to switch things for 2024, then switch back to 2025. That's fine. But if you're doing this for Beasley, I kind of feel like the floodgates are open for 2024. The good thing is that as you look at Notre Dame's commitment list, everyone looks pretty solid right now. I mean, Isaiah Canyon down in the Peach State, some of those heavy hitters in the SEC are taking a strong look at him. So Chancey Stuckey and company are going to have to make sure he's locked in. But otherwise, I think they should be good with their commits. But again, I don't think many people saw Owen Wayfield decommitting last week. So, I mean, you just never know.